welcome to our good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this afternoon with Champion Data, from stats to stunning. My name is Martin Schlegel. I'm the Executive Chair of the Australian Sports Technologies Network, and I welcome everyone that's joining us on this afternoon. And I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners on the lands that we're dialing in from, and the elders past and present and emerging. This afternoon is another webinar in our series of how technology is impacting the business of sport. And it's with great pleasure that I'm welcoming Jerome Guzzo from our premium member Champion Data. And Jerome and I had a brief discussion on the sidelines of another event this year. And because Champion Data is probably best and well known for its involvement with the AFL, it was actually very interesting to see how they are translating their knowledge and expertise that the company has gained over the years from one sport into other sports. And Jerome, he is the design lead at Champion Data, and with a long broadcasting experience in the world of live sports graphics. He's been behind their dynamic and data-driven solutions. On the one side, Fox Footy, but also now LIV Golf. And Jerome is going to take us through a bit of the history, but also the technology that they are using, but mainly with a view of content creation. So, Jerome, I'm really happy that you're taking the time to take us through from stats to stunning. Over to you.
Absolute pleasure, Martin. Thank you very much for the opportunity. All right, welcome everyone. So we've come a long way from getting scores on screen to today. In the past, the only way to get the scores on screen was to shoot the scoreboard. And today we're seeing all sorts of graphics and all sorts of stats-driven elements being generated on screen to help tell the story behind the game. In that retro TV set there, you see the scores for the Carlton v Collingwood 1970 Grand Final, which coincidentally our founder, Ted Hopkins, played in. If you don't know the legendary story, he kicked 4 goals after coming on at halftime to help Carlton defeat Collingwood. Apologies to any Collingwood supporters that are out there today. So who is Champion Data? Well, you might know us because of the legendary stories about Ted Hopkins and what he did when he started a tech business in the 90s. You might listen to podcasts or the radio and know the likes of Christian Joly and Daniel Hoyne, who are touting their stuff, talking about data analytics on the weekly. Perhaps you're an AFL fantasy player and you know that our stats drive the rankings points. We'll be at the MCG capturing the grand final. We're at the netball on the sidelines. We're even international now, working on the likes of lacrosse. Or maybe you're an avid reader of our old AFL's prospectus that we released for over a decade. But did you know we have a broadcast department? For over 20 years, Champion Data has been working with broadcasters to bring our stats to the screen. You'll find us in the OBs, working on the live games. You'll find us in the hubs, where all the pictures are coming back from all over the world and all over the country. Our data is being displayed in real time using our control systems and software. You'll find us in the stadiums, driving the scoreboard technology. At LIV Golf, we'll have four operators operating all different types of graphics, generating about a graphic or an interaction with a viz renderer once every sort of 6 seconds. We've got that scoring operator who's following play and shots. We'll have a secondary operator running data-driven stories that have been created by our analysts and imported into our data platforms. You'll have your augmented reality person who's running tags and showing distance to the hole and showing if you hit to the left or the right, what your odds are of staying under par. You also have an AR operator generating all the plots on the greens to show where the shots landed. And then we're running 31 simultaneous channels where you can tune in and just watch hole 12. I just want to see hole-in-ones on the par 3 today. Or you want to follow your favorite player, love Bryson DeChambeau, just want to watch him all day. And our systems are driving all this all at once. We'll be in the studios delivering great touchscreen concepts for our talent. We're even at the award shows ensuring that the count is accurate and gets to screen. We're everywhere. I'm going to talk over this because we're having a bit of a sound issue. So here's a culmination of about 20 years worth of broadcast graphics from Champion Data. We pride ourselves on data-driven analytics, where we work with our data analyst teams, our sports scientists, and we have everyone in-house. So we're able to come up with ideas and come up with how we're going to present those on screen. We also work with our producers and make sure that their message is getting across, and do a whole lot of prep lots of storylines, making sure that we can cover anything that happens in the match. There's a whole lot of virtual content here too, which we're really proud to play with. We love playing with the latest tech. And today you'll see a whole lot of that in the future slides. So this is our team. When I started at Champion Data 17 years ago, we were a team of 5 in our department. We had maybe 30 full-timers back in 2008. Today, and this is actually missing a whole lot of people, we've got almost 30 people working just in our design department, in our broadcast department, and those people span all around the world. We've got developers who are building our control software. We've got a team of 12 artists who are bringing all the graphics to life. We've got our operations and our logistics teams who are making sure that our operators are booked on site, kit freighted, ensuring that every production goes seamlessly. We also have our tech team who are building our kits and making sure we are sending out the most perfect quality hardware to do the job. And oftentimes when someone new meets me and they don't know what I do, I always get a buzz when I have a chance to potentially, if it's prime time, there's a match on, point up at a TV and say, you know what I do? I built that. It always gives you that buzz because it's a very unique thing. Like you always get that instant recognition when you've worked on something all day, and then you can go home and you can chuck on the TV and say, wow, you get that instant feedback. I can see that graphic. A million other people can see it. And oftentimes, not oftentimes, I shouldn't say that, but when things do go wrong, if you jump on Twitter, you probably see a few of your best hits on there getting a bit of abuse. But typically, 99% of the time, graphics running absolutely seamlessly. And I wanted to actually reflect on one graphic in particular, the score bug. Typically, when we're looking at a score bug and we're building out that graphic, I always say it's probably about a 5-day build where we're integrating it with our control system, where we're making sure that there are triggers and cues that will transition the scores live without operator intervention. We're making sure the clock's integrated, that the quarter and the period is being displayed accurately. We might be even driving and expanding out some stats. But then enter the Fox Footy score strap. The Fox Footy score strap is the entire graphics package. Yes, there are some other graphics that will appear on screen, but what they tried to do, and it was a great achievement, was 90% of the graphics and the storytelling devices ended up being in this bottom frame. So they could keep the picture nice and wide and not be obstructed by graphics. And it was really ingenious because we had to reconsider how we were going to tell the story without losing the story. So oftentimes I speak with our producers and we always talk about, well, what's the essence of the story? The story needs to hit you in the face straight away. It's the pub test. It's making sure that sound down, you're at a pub, you're talking to mates, you look up at the screen. If you don't get that storyline in 5 to 10 seconds, you've missed it. You've missed your mark. So this graphic, after a 4-week build, not a 5-day build, was ready for on air. And it's quite an amazing achievement. and something that our whole department should be celebrating. So what are our tools of the trade? Well, over 2 decades, the typical tools of the trade have been VisRT, which is an industry-based renderer that we use to create data-driven graphics. We can create animations, on, off animations, transitions. We can then create sort of data endpoints into our graphics. So we can control the text elements or the image elements, drive keyframes, make graphics dynamically resize given the text size or the content size. And we're driving these graphics through our control system, GGI, which is sending a suite of commands to populate the graphic and play it on, play it off. This is all very rudimentary the way I'm describing it. There's a whole lot of logic that does go into building these graphics. And I often tell people who say, oh, so you're a designer, so you make pretty pictures and stuff. And I always say, well, no, I kind of use both sides of my brain. And it's quite difficult to find somebody that has that both skill sets and is able to find a way to be able to do the art side of things, but then also do the logic. So we also use the Adobe suite, but then what we've also been trying to do is find ways to, I guess, democratize the design process and the integration process. So I like to think of us as, we're not just pure designers and creatives, but we're applied designers, we're integrators, we're engineers, if you will, and enter the games industry. So at the moment, we're at this crossroads where the games industry and the film and television industry are sort of meeting in the middle. You'll know if you're a fan of The Mandalorian, for example, the Unreal Engine is driving a lot of their 3D landscapes. So you don't have to go to Tatooine to go and shoot a scene. You can generate that in a studio and have the Mandalorian and Grogu talking about things on set. So they're powering that with the Unreal Engine. And what's been happening is the Unreal Engine has been creating a suite of tools that are making them broadcast capable. So we're looking at that and investing time into how we can potentially get into these technologies. The Unity engine, for example, is a product we actually already use on air at scoreboards. We drive automated kiosk screens that you'll see around Marvel and the MCG. When we're building 3D assets, we're working with suites like Cinema 4D and Blender. And then when we're looking at more cost-effective solutions, we're actually looking at HTML renderers. So we've been using Singular Live and soon to be VisFlowix to build web-based platforms that allow us to still do the data-driven content, but offer a more scalable approach to broadcasters, a more cost-effective solution. And the beauty of those is they're quite easy to pick up. There's a very shallow learning curve. Everything's sort of widget-based and very pre-built for you, but then you are also limited and you don't have the power of, say, an Unreal Engine or a VisRT at your disposal. I wanted to talk about what it's like to work at Champion Data. I'm often described as somebody that doesn't sit still. We have so much going on at Champion Data, and it's amazing what the people can do to make sure we get on air. So this is a very fresh slide. This is our last 7 days of productions. I actually put this together. I grabbed one last night, but I was looking at this on Saturday, and it was amazing to be flicking the channels, and if there was a domestic sport on, it was probably covered by Champion Data, which was pretty amazing. So, we had the blink and you'll miss it Ashes test, ran for 2 days. We did a whole lot of WBBL. We were doing a couple of games of AFLW finals. We had not one, not two, but 3 productions for AFL Draft, including AFL.com, Fox Footy, and also the auditorium scoreboards, or big screens, I should say. And we're also driving not only insert graphics for those, but various LED wall studio set panels as well. We had Golf Australia on at the same time for 2 days. We're also doing the horse racing. Geez, I haven't stopped yet, haven't I? And then we're also working towards our new project, which is the United Cup, which will be on in January. This is a quiet week for Champion Data, I would say. And I shouldn't say that because I'm sure my boss is watching and will want me to work harder. But this is a quiet week for Champion Data. We didn't have all the men's footy on. We weren't doing all those hours of studio shows. We didn't have LIV Golf on. So our US commitments are down a little bit. We're probably also dealing with a lot of other stuff going on in the future, but there's a whole lot of other things that usually take our time. Typically, when we are in production mode, say for a Fox footy, on Mondays, we're coming in, we're reviewing the week. How did the weekend go? What happened? What do we need to do better next time? What worked? What didn't work? And then we're starting to look at how we're going to get ready for the next weekend. I guess probably more from an operations point of view and also bug fixes and things like that. Then on Tuesday, and mind you, every day we're also delivering studio shows. So I might not mention that too much. We're working with our data analysts and our producers to make sure we're doing hours worth of studio shows every day as well. Tuesdays is when our data analysts are sort of creating storylines and things for the next weekend. And we're starting to think about those things too. What new innovation could we bring to Fox in AR for this week? Or maybe potentially we're speaking with a client overseas for LIV Golf, 7 a.m, be talking to them, making sure we know what they want to do for their next tournament. We're then rolling into Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. We're starting to think about, we're now getting told what to do by our producers, and we're starting to think about how we're going to deliver those things on screen, going through the design process. What's this going to look like? What's the motion theory behind this? We might be dealing with at night, talking to our creative studio in Leeds, making sure we're working all together to get the next graphics package built for that next client, or working on offline material like bumpers, all the non-data driven graphics, bumpers, openers, stings, and what have you. Then Thursday, Friday, we're ramping up again. There's footy on. We're getting things out to our techs all around the world that might be servicing our productions. I like to call them our weekend warriors, our guys actually doing the work on the day, and our operators. We're getting those files out. We're supporting our shows at prime time and all the way to 11 o'clock after the game, the final siren goes. Then into the weekend, and that's when all the fun starts. We're getting calls saying, how's this going? I need to make this happen. I'm on air in an hour. An hour for me is an eternity in on air in TV. We'll be okay. We'll get that fixed. We'll make that happen for you. We're supporting things end to end, making sure we get on air, have a great production, and then we'll rinse and repeat and do it all again next week. But like I said, last week, that was a quiet week. I did mention ideation before, and I like to say ideation comes in many forms. No two lots of ideation, no two ideas equal, I guess. And I'm going to demonstrate that today. So maybe planning pre-season, we're starting to come up with new ideas, new innovations, new storylines and metrics. Our data team interfaces with us, our broadcast team, as well as producers, industry experts, coaches, to come up with new ways of telling the story behind the game. You'll see that on the left there through workshops, lots of collaboration, lots of looping back on ideas, and really just trying to nut out and test the waters and see, is this something we should be progressing with? At which point our design team will then try and imagine that graphic as a broadcast graphic and work with our producers to try and get that graphic on air. Weekly, we're getting offered stats packs by our producers and our data analysts. Many different storylines. I like to say we'll prep a whole lot of graphics, and maybe our hit rate will be that 10% of those will get on air. So that's a whole lot of wastage, right? But you need to plan for any scenario. It's a live game. It's not scripted. You don't know what's going to happen on the day, but you need to be prepared. So we have operators that would come in to operate the game. They will actually assist us to prep the storylines. A lot of manual input, but then also interfacing with our APIs to maybe generate some new graphics that we can call up as situations occur. Then there's ideation. Not uncommon in television to get scribbles like this. Look, I'm not going to name and shame. This was actually me. I supplied this to one of my artists to go, can you just sort of like do it like this? So it's not uncommon for us to get graphics like that. You get it all. And like I said, no two lots of animation of ideation is equal. So how else are we inspired? We have the luxury of our being data first, working in the inner sanctum. Perhaps we're coming up with new metrics to help teams succeed, give them the winning edge. And there's nothing more, there's no more better example than the two examples you see on my screen here. Pressure factor, or as it's known on Fox, the pressure gauge. Ross Lyon used to talk so much about pressure in media conferences, and we're a pressure factor of 2 point this, and today we're a pressure of 1.6, and I'm upset and whatever. And he'd rant about pressure all the time, and we had producers coming to us going, "What's pressure? What's he talking about? What are these numbers?" So Fox were the first to jump on this, and we workshopped things with them to be able to demonstrate what pressure was and make it consumable to the audience. We came up with a ranking system to help explain how pressure was working. We explained how pressure is applied, how we capture it, and then we translated that into graphics that you've probably seen if you're an AFL fan. Then more recently, we've looked at speed of ball. Everyone always talks about how a ball's being transitioned, but there was nothing really to quantify the metric. So Champion Data developed a metric to be able to explain speed of ball. Again, enter Fox Footy, loved the idea. The great Daniel Hoyne from Champion Data joined some of Fox Footy's finest talent to explain how speed of ball worked. And from there, for the season, we started displaying this number. Again, adding to the vernacular of the sport. The other way we innovate is through sponsored tech. Telstra, a principal partner of the AFL, sponsor player athlete tracking. So we're able to take the data for Channel 7 and produce heat maps, GPS location of where the interactions have happened for the player. We can also get speed metrics. We can get sprint metrics. We get a whole lot of performance data that we are able to expand on our traditional data set and deliver exciting and fresh ideas. And then one that I actually quite like is the gamification of sports graphics. LIV is actually a really good example of a broadcaster with an aging audience or an older audience, and they really wanted to gamify the delivery of their sports graphics content to be able to bring in that new young fan. And I've got a couple of screenshots that are some inspiration, but what we've tried to do is adapt and adopt things and conventions that you might actually see in video games and bring those to life as broadcast graphics, as you can see in the examples on this slide. Then there's the iconic champion dataism. What is our DNA? What is in our DNA? What are the things that work? What have we done in the past? What are things that are tried and true? And how do we apply them in other scenarios? How do we take what we've done in the past and then bring those to life in other sports? There's probably no more better example than the scoreworm. Can remember a time we were having one of those early calls with LIV Golf, and we started talking about some new ideas, and we wanted to tell a story across a few days. And how are we going to get the message across about the change across rounds and the change in the leaderboard and how and where what happened, what these players did to end up where they were in at the end of the tournament. So I suggested scoreworm. Scoreworm, of course. It's for us, it's the margin, right, between two teams, and you can tell the story across a match, the ebbs and flows of the match. So we translated that to LIV Golf, and then another golf tournament stole it like weeks later. So I was actually quite proud of that. So yeah, we're changing the way graphics and concepts are delivered for sports around the world, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. We get to play with some really cool toys at Champion Data. And I want to talk about some of the tech innovations that we have played with over my career. So at the top there is infrared tracking systems. This is a camera set up at Fox Sports. It's called a Red Spy unit that sits on top of the camera, and that looks up at the ceiling. On the ceiling, there's a whole lot of stickers, a whole lot of little labels that are reflective, and the infrared camera picks those up. On the side of the camera is a is a little computer screen, and that is looking up at the stickers, and it's remembering where they are in 3D space. Imagine them like constellations. So it's looking at the roof and it's kind of understanding where it is and how far away it is from the roof and how much it's panned and tilted and all that. And then it's sending that data to our Viz renderer, which is then driving a virtual camera in the scene. It's really cool. It like sticks really well, and we're able to do all sorts of fun things with this. So the next image you see down the bottom left, or the middle left, is a football ground standing in front of with the talent standing behind it. Well, we're able to set up this environment on two Viz renderers where we had like a parallax shift happening inside the screen, doing an extended reality environment in an LED screen and changing the perspective of it so it looked like it was extending into the screen. We actually had that ground inside the screen to start off with. And with a click of a button, a transition would happen. It would fly out, talent move out of shot, allowing the graphic to move in shot, and they could then stand behind it and talk to the data story. I love playing with tech. I'm a bit of a tech nerd. I get to blend graphics and tech every day, and you can tell I'm pretty passionate. And then obviously I've just got another graphic there, a hover graphic that's sitting in Stadium, utilizing that same technology. This year, we've delivered drone solutions for LIV Golf and Fox Footy, as well as the 7 AFL Grand Final. Here's some examples of how we're utilizing drone tech. This, again, is an image-based technology called Pixotope, and we're able to send the tracking data to the Viz engine to, again, change where that virtual camera is looking. Again, sticking amazingly. We're able to, one of my favorites is that bottom image there of showing where the shots are landing on a golf, on a tee shot. If you hit over that line, this is metrics that our data scientists have come up with. Hit over that line on this par 4, you're probably going to hit a 3.36 on average. Hit below that line, you're hitting about a 4.03. Great story to tell off the drone. The drone can move around. It just makes it more immersive. You're not just putting up just a regular old insert graphic up on screen. You're really utilizing the beautiful shots that you can get off the drone while also telling an informative story. Then touchscreens. We don't do them very often, but they're actually really cool tech. And we've got 3 different executions here. So the ability for talent to drill down and click through and then tell their own story, get to a particular team. Maybe once you click the team, a whole bunch of players pop up and you can then click a player, and so they can drive the story as they want to drive it. Again, like I said, utilizing both skill sets, being able to deliver effectively an application, but in a 3D graphic renderer, utilizing scripting and all that. Ditto to the next image where the talent's actually using an iPad, which is interfaced with the Viz engine over Wi-Fi, and they're able to click around and play with that graphic and affect what's happening on the LED screen. The final image is actually a blend of touchscreen technology and a virtual camera that's overlaying virtual 3D, 3D cylinders on top of the touchscreen. So as the talent moves these, we could show positions or formations and potentially what the team should have done when they set up for a particular play. I mentioned those early morning calls with LIV Golf, and geez, we have some fun on those calls. I collected a few of my favorite innovations, and also the reason I collected these is because typically when you present a new idea to producers, the first thing they say is, well, we're all going to get on the same wavelength here. What are we going to call when we call for it in the truck or in the hub? And LIV Golf are always fun. They always want to come up with colorful, fun names for their graphics. So have a little think right now. We're going to pause for like 10 seconds. Have a think of what some of these graphics might be called. That felt like 10 seconds. That'll do. Well, the top left one, if you guessed Skittles, you'd be right, because obviously it looks like a bunch of Skittles that have fallen on the ground, right? I prefer M&Ms, actually. How about the bottom left one? Well, that's the snow cone. Yeah, kind of looks like a snow cone. I tried to call it the pizza slice, but that didn't stick, unfortunately. So I tried that. This middle one here, traditionally probably known as a mini map. Well, how about the pickle? Hey, can I have a pickle, please? Yep, cool, coming up. Then we've got this elevation chart here, and it's kind of triangular. Not quite sure what we're going to call this one. What about the wedgie? Yeah, cool. Finally, we've got this graphic. It sort of rotates around, it goes to all different metrics. Um, hmm, Lazy Susan. So there you go. Next time you're watching Live Golf, there's something you can take home with you. And you can see when they put that graphic up, a producer or a director just going, hey, can I have a pickle, please? So, yeah, you can take that one home with you. Probably really relevant to talk about golf because, as you know, we are working with Golf Australia at the moment. I mentioned that earlier before. And one of the exciting things about working Live for me is it's kind of gone full circle. So we got involved with Live Golf, and now we're doing golf on home soil, which I absolutely love. It's something a little bit romantic about that. So yeah, enjoy the golf if you're going in the next couple of weeks to either tournament. I wanted to reflect on what it's like to be in the live environment because I'm guessing there's a lot of people on this call that may not work in television, that you might come from that sports tech background, but you haven't really seen the pressures of the live environment or live TV. Maybe potentially your job ends on the Friday when you release that next build, and then you find out that it didn't work on the Saturday and Sunday for that team or whatever. But we're always on, and there's no bigger moment for us than the culmination of a whole season's worth of AFL working on the AFL Grand Final. That day, we're doing hosting shows for Fox Footy. We're working with Channel 7 to make sure that their graphics are right. Where even this year we did live and as live broadcast for Fox and Channel 7 to do their data-driven graphics and live graphics on screen. We also had an opportunity in 2024 to do something not with data, but actually be part of the pre-game entertainment with Katy Perry. In this solution, we were asked to help, along with her creative team, to deliver a 3-camera execution in AR for 3 moments in her performance. Over an 8-week journey, we worked with a company in LA to ensure that we had their creative vision met. We did this in the Unreal Engine with a VizRT solution on top. And we brought together, I like to call them, the A team or the SWAT team, a collection of some of our great minds together in our tech department, our designers and our technical artists to come together and make and pull this off. I always say that if you miss your moment in live TV, you've missed it forever. And boy, did we not miss this moment. And as you can see in that photo there, the guys are just having a great time. They've won their grand final even before the first ball has bounced. You can see some older heads in the background there who have lost all their hair after 17 years of TV, but that happens too. So yeah, I just wanted to end on that there's highs and there's lows. Things can happen. Sometimes you pull off the most amazing things. Sometimes you make mistakes, but hey, that's live TV. Martin, I'm going to open it up for question time.
Yes, correct. Jerome, thank you very much for the presentation. And
Appreciate it.
I suggest that we can obviously get questions from the audience through the chat or Q&A function. But let me kick us off with one question for you, Jerome, and which I always find interesting. And this is, you talked about the different tools that you're using, obviously out of the gaming industry and entertainment. So we talk about these adjacencies of sectors, and you spoke about that they are actually coming closer together. Can you expand a little bit on that? How you see this actually unfolding in what you do?
Yeah, definitely. So I suppose the two technologies I spoke about that haven't traditionally been broadcast industry technologies are game development renderers. So I might speak specifically about Unreal Engine at this point in time, but uh, there's Unreal are doing significant amount of investment in building tools that allow you to do the broadcast piece really well. As you know, Unreal is used, like I said before, for film and TV, so you can get some really photorealistic rendering capability out of that engine.
Mm.
Some of the more traditional software vendors, like your VizRT, like your Ross Video, are building interfaces that sort of sit on top of Unreal. So what you can do is you can actually have the best of both worlds as well. So those companies are building tool sets that allow you to still do, I guess, the broadcast part in the software that you're familiar with. So old heads like me
Mm.
can sort of apply what we know, our expert knowledge, but then actually be able to harness that ability of the Unreal renderer on air. So that was actually the achievement with the Katy Perry work that I just spoke about there. It was that blend of the two technologies to be able to get to a result.
Yeah.
The other thing I might actually mention, I did mention it before, is just that identifying of talent. So the transferable skill set from the games industry as well is an area that we've definitely found some great people that we can bring in.
Mm.
So yeah, we've been able to, we've actually had much success where we've not even, maybe back in the day, we've gone after people that might work for that network or that competitor.
Yeah.
And typically there's this pool, like I don't know if I said the line, but like it's not. I always say that not many people can say that you're in the top 20 in your skill set in the country. I feel like I can say that, but there's only 21 of us, right? Like I mean that's a joke, right? But
Yeah.
it's such a niche industry, and the broadcast industry in Australia is even small. Like it's small,
Yeah.
right? So and everyone works for everyone. Like cameramen for Channel 7 will finish a shift and then go to Fox to go work. Like so that industry, you know, there is a lot of people sort of working for everyone,
Yeah.
or you have chances are you have worked for everyone, or you know, I'm probably one of the rare ones who I came straight out of uni and then have worked for Champion Data for you
Yeah.
know my whole working career.
So does that mean that then that opens up the opportunity to recruit actually with different skill sets and not only look for, let's say, sports analytics or like close to the traditional
Yeah,
portfolio or
if
group?
I pull it back to the graphic design, I guess, and the design team, like I said, we have probably in the past thought, oh, we need a viz person. We need someone that
Mhm.
knows the software. Now I'm almost saying we don't need a viz person. We need just really good people that know, you know, Unreal and have a complementary skill set, a great motion graphics designers, have a great 3D background. Or have worked in the games industry and understand how to, if they're a technical artist, understand how to make the thing work in the renderer. So these are all skill sets that can be applied to our job, and we've had much success. I might actually shout out to one of my employees, Jonathan, who he during PAX, which is a games development expo, actually gave a talk about adjacent industries to the games development industry, and he actually did that because he's come from games. So
Mhm.
so it's definitely proven to be a successful strategy for Champion Data.
Yeah, yeah. And when I think about the virtual studio, and obviously we saw that on a very, very large scale with the Olympics, how virtual studios actually became much more part of the broadcast. How is the person, the commentator in the studio actually reacting to that?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you want to talk about workflows, and because obviously the graphics not there, right? So they need the ability to be able to talk through it. Typically, if you're in studio, they're setting up a monitor, a program monitor in the eye line
Yeah.
of the commentator. So they're looking at that monitor, but it feels like they're looking down at the graphic. Yeah, and then they do have a bit of fun with it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I know that like that graphic I spoke about, which comes out of the screen.
Hmm.
I know one of the commentators, David King, who's an absolute legend, very friendly person outside of the you know from a personal level. Um, he loves to have a bit of fun. And I can remember every time that graphic would come out, he'd kind of like swing his hips to like let it come out, like have a bit of do a little dance, a little jig. And yeah, so I mean, they bring their personality to the graphics. It just makes it a hell of a lot more entertaining, right?
Yeah, yeah. We have one question from Rochelle, and that talks about how do you tackle issues that are happening in real time, especially is there a chance to rectify that in 1 2 seconds time?
Uh, I can talk to a few experiences there. It really depends on where we are and what we're doing. So I had the opportunity in 2022 to become part of what I call the traveling circus for LIV Golf. So we had that year 8 tournaments for LIV Golf,
Yeah.
and being very new for us. And if you've watched that broadcast, there's a lot of integration, a lot of dynamic graphics. So the pylon was a innovation that they might have borrowed from like Formula One, let's say, for example, but they want to introduce that to golf. And so I was tasked with traveling for 6 of the 8 tournaments to help ensure that the graphics got to air. And so oftentimes, if something wasn't quite right, and most of the time the audience probably wouldn't even know, right?
Yeah.
But they'd quickly point, hey, did you see it? Did you see it? I'm like, yeah, saw it. Head down, start mucking around with my software. And I'm a bit, I can be a bit risky sometimes, but I'm confident as well. So if I feel like personally, if I've nailed it,
Yeah.
I'll just straight deploy, and I'll
Yeah.
say, look, and your next ad break, if you refresh the graphics, that issue will be gone.
We'll be done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but then we also then have a whole support structure. So if we're not on site, because you can't be everywhere, right? We've got, I think our busiest day was like 30 productions in one day this year. So, 30 different TX days in the one day. It's insane. So we'll have remote support. So that might be a bit of a longer turnaround. But again, there's downtime in matches, or maybe where they've identified an issue in the pre-match that we can fix before they get on air. Or otherwise, it is live TV. So if you can get
Mm.
away with not using the graphic, then who's to know that that graphic was not right? Yeah. I always say that you've got to make sure your scores are right and
Mm.
your sponsors are right.
Yeah.
Those two aren't right, you're going to have problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there was a question from Helen, which sort of dovetails into this discussion.
Mhm.
Um, you obviously have to work with a number of different companies. You already mentioned the sponsors, but in a broadcast, what type of companies are actually also like the ones that you have to interact with?
Yep. So we obviously capture a lot of statistics, but we don't
Mhm.
always offer the stats capture solution. So we sometimes work with other stats companies
Yeah.
to bring in data. We might add on services to be able to, uh, I guess, analyze that data and create new metrics and new insights.
Mhm.
But we're pulling in. So there's sometimes we'll pull in that data. Golf's a great example of that. Golf has many vendors that are offering stats and inputs that we
Mhm.
also ingest. So TrackMan, for example, live ball positioning, speed of the ball and flight of the ball. So all those metrics are coming through. Our system is, I guess, data agnostic. We can take any input and import it into our control system and then drive our graphics real time.
Yeah. And when you drive the graphics, and this was another question that came through, and obviously the creation of let's say, do you foresee and are you already using generative artificial intelligence to create these? Uh,
Yep.
what fashion do you deploy other ways of creating these things?
Sure. We are using some computer vision software to be able to track players. We're doing that for Live Golf in particular. We're doing like a pixel tracking system. So we're able to, on a drone shot, for example, place tags above the players' heads to show their distance to hole
Yeah.
and other metrics. So how they fare by when they hit out of a bunker, for example, or out of the rough. But in terms of the tracking, it's sending data back to the renderer to move, I guess, the widget that's following the player
Yeah.
around. We're also working with our machine learning and AI department on new ideas and insights for the future as well. So a lot of skeletal tracking systems are things that we're looking at. I've got a dream that, in studio at some point, love to be able to analyze, how does a player kick the ball and actually have like a 3D avatar of that player. And, David King can go and walk around the player and talk about particular stance and stuff, and ditto to golf as well. So, how a player swings on off tee. These are all insights and things that we want to aspire to and work towards for the future.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked AFL, we talked golf. There's a question that came in from Christian. Do you do anything in netball?
Yeah, we do. So, hi, Christian. Good to see you. He's our head of netball here at Champion Data. So, netball's actually out of season right now, Christian. So, not much to talk about. Didn't work on it in the last 7 days. So, if you have anything for me, please pass it on. But yeah, netball is. We're also official statisticians for netball, so we actually do work quite closely with federations. I should probably have mentioned that before as well in terms of partners.
Mm.
Um, and also then in turn with broadcasters. And netball's a great example of federations, broadcasters, and the stats provider all talking together and trying to determine, put some consistency into those broadcasts and really redefine or at least stick with convention and make sure that we're telling the same story and we're telling it the way the way netball wants to tell it as well. So yeah, no, Christian's a good friend of mine. Thank you for the question, Christian. Hopefully, I answered it very well for you.
You'll hear about it later on. Um, I'd like to come back to there's I just saw Kasoon was asking in the examples that you showed, let's say Live Golf or Fox Footy,
Mhm.
are any of those where you utilize AI already?
I don't think I included any, actually, tell you the truth.
Okay,
No,
good. No, that's it. That's
no,
good.
not this time, my friend. I did almost put in a couple R&D things that we've done where we've tracked players and we're playing with this idea of putting like rings under their feet. So there's a lot of technology out there that can
Mm,
already do that, but they're more feature based tracking. So they're tracking pixels and yeah, we're looking at how we could potentially do that in the AR environment, be able to put rings under feet, maybe have things appear, really like lean into that gamification, like I mentioned before. I was an avid FIFA player on the Xbox back in the day, and I always liked career mode, where after a positive or a negative interaction with the ball, you'd have like a little number or red or green
yeah.
ring appear at your feet, and I don't know, maybe it'd get distracting, but I like the idea of maybe being able to do that with our ranking points at some point. So,
Okay. There's
so I've been
there's an idea.
playing with some tech there to try and make that happen.
So, and that brings me to my question that I started. If you think about that a sport wants to attract a particular audience that is not core of their customer base at the moment, um, and we saw that with SailGP that basically they said we're gonna implement graphics in a way that somebody who's not familiar with the sport of sailing can actually follow and understands what's happening out there. So do you see that is there this effect that the type of enhancements that you are providing are actually working and broadening the viewership and the customer base for these sports?
It's a good question. It's hard to quantify that apart from whether or not the sport still exists. Live was an interesting one. We didn't know if we'd get on air. Uh,
Yeah.
we took on in good faith that we'd get over there and there'd be a production and all that. The Rebel League starting up and will it or won't it? And here it is, and it feels like it's here to stay. So.
Yeah.
I think they made a big impact. Like I said, it's probably always complementary when you're seeing your ideas being adopted elsewhere and becoming convention. So that's definitely a way we could measure it. I guess uh, there's no more finer form of flattery than that, than someone copying your work. So that's always good. But then I guess to talk about what broadcasters are trying to do to pump up their games. I find there's a bit of a trend where we're really trying to celebrate the players as heroes. So it's, have that big action shot of the player doing this and, grabbing their shirt or,
Mm,
really, sell the players, and also build storylines, that sort of give that impact and that drama to the game. Live again. I'm sorry, I'm talking about Live and Fox, but obviously they're two things that I'm quite passionate and I
yeah.
work on. But they were all about let's celebrate the teams because that's so
Mm,
different, unique for us, and
mm,
that's where we'll get people to align with the team because people love to have a team to barrack for, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And exactly, and that actually then leads to a question that James put up. Uh, th- I assume that you have to have a deep understanding of the sport to actually provide meaningful stories based on the data that you see and on the analytics that you see, right?
Yeah, I'd say that isn't necessarily a factor for when we're hiring someone. It definitely helps.
Mm,
Uh, we're probably lucky as a company and as a business that we have all departments under the one roof,
yeah.
right? So while we do have situations where we offer managed services where people will go, say like a Fox, for example, we essentially have a viz department for them that will sit
Mm,
there and make sure TV happens for them during the season. But generally, most of our experts across broadcast and data and tech and analytics all sit in the same under the same roof. So we can leverage the right people to ensure that we're telling the story. So, our creatives can do the creative piece and go,
mm,
well, how about we make it
yeah.
this way and display it this then display it in this way. So no, you don't necessarily need to have expert knowledge in the sport. I think a love for sport really helps.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, and I guess a love for TV. And yeah, I think it does definitely take a special kind of person to work in this industry. It's not the 9 to 5. It's not the Monday to Friday. It's
yeah. Yeah.
it's TV happens on the weekends. But you get to some amazing environments. I never would have thought I'd travel the world on works money, for
Yeah.
example. Hopefully, my bosses aren't hearing that. No, I love it. So I think
Yeah.
you need to live off that adrenaline, and so there's a whole lot of types. I think there's a particular. It's a very that you can be lots of different types of people. I don't think you necessarily need to be a subject matter expert of the sport to be
Okay.
successful.
And there was a question from Rob in terms of, do you actually track sort of like how attractive these different visualizations are and the graphics? And is there a way to see what works, what people like, and do you monitor like post a broadcast? Are people talking about certain things, or how do you actually decide to keep something in the broadcast or to tweak it or change it?
We're probably in feedback loops a lot with our producers. I mean, they'd probably have more metrics on what's going on with ratings and what their audience likes. So we can leverage them, and we're always in workshops with them and on
Yeah.
in weeklies. Uh, our customers, our clients are the people that we answer to as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to make
Okay.
sure that they're happy. Um,
Mhm. And is
like
there,
I mentioned, there's always if you want to see negative feedback, and everyone's got an opinion, right? I won't say the quote about opinions, but you know it, and if you know it, you know it. But yeah, so you can get online and see a whole lot of negative feedback on your graphics anytime you like. So
yeah,
that's there aren't many jobs where you get instant negative feedback either.
exactly. So, and this is actually quite interesting. So, when we think about this, and there's two questions that go to that effectively. We obviously have the TV audience, but we also have the mobile experience. In particular, if I look at our son and daughter, they're consuming that with a second screen in hand.
Mhm.
And so, do you see yourself actually adopting and developing independently, or do you then translate over from one to the other? How does that work for these different platforms that are emerging?
There's definitely consideration by the broadcasters on how they build their graphics to work in 916 or on the 16.9. So,
Mhm.
Seven's a really good example of that, where their score bug has been created with the intention that when they do the crop for social media, that it does fit in frame.
Mm.
So that's definitely a factor now. We're also getting asked a lot about what we can do in terms of the content creation space. So can our data drive, social media posts and
Yeah,
pull highlights and things? So that they're definitely conversations that we're having with our clients and partners.
yeah. Good. Final question. Um, and you talked about AFL, obviously, here at home, then going overseas, coming full circle, now golf domestically. What were the initial barriers for you guys at Champion Data to break, let's say, into different sports or into overseas markets?
Well, I guess it's probably intentional. Like we're I'd say an AFL company that started has its roots capturing statistics for AFL. So in the early 2000s, the broadcasters were seeing what we're doing and they came and approached us and they said, well, if you're doing the data, is there any way you could actually do the graphics for TV? So, we've sort of organically been able to grow in that space. And, I come from a time where we had 4 AFL matches a week and that was it. There was other providers that were doing it. And the big sort of push for us was we want to do all AFL. Like, let's take it all. And from there, we were able to align with other sporting bodies. So there was a time where we wanted to try and be official. So go talk to federations, become data partners, and then
Mm.
offer additional services. And I guess that's where netball, thanks Christian Eschman for your comment before, but that's where netball sort of historically started up. We were doing data for them and we were able to do broadcasts. So there's opportunities to do that with other federations that we're working with as well. But then enter golf, we had an opportunity back in, I think it was 2017, where we're able to work with the Asian Tour. And we worked with them for a few years, building out our golf platform and doing the graphics for them. And by chance, a former person that worked there ended up at LIV Golf and just loved how we did things,
Mm.
knew what we were doing domestically back here, and really wanted to, change up I guess there's usually the same companies sort of taking the contracts off each other for golf all the time, and we were able to get in there as a new up and comer and take that. So the work actually that we do for Live has helped us open up doors internationally and start those conversations because it is that brand that people have seen and know.
Yeah.
So we've really been able to ride that wave as well. And as a result, Golf Australia came knocking last year saying, "Is there anything we
Mm.
can do with you?" And then the rest is history. So we're doing 20 tournaments with them, and really excited to be involved in the PGA and the Australian Open in the coming weeks.
Yeah, no, massive, massive achievement and congrats on that. Jerome, I think we could probably continue, but I'm mindful of your time. I'm mindful of the people online, and
Thank
so
you.
thank you very much for taking the time to take us through this, and in particular because it's sports tech is touching so many other adjacent markets, and it's good to see how it goes both ways. And so for those of you that listen to us this afternoon, sign up to the ASTN newsletter. That way you can keep up with what's happening next year. There's plenty of things in store. For those of you who aren't members, like Champion Data, jump onto our website and check out what may work for you, or connect with our membership and events manager, Haley. For all of you, thank you for joining us. And Jerome, thanks again, and see you soon somewhere.
Thanks for having me.
All right,
Take care.
thank you so much.